Once again, thanks for joining us for our first live event of 2020. Really excited to have Dr. Gerber here, and we're going to get into his introduction in just a second. So first announcement, make sure to check out the website. It's been updated, and we update it every couple of days with new articles, new content. Julie, myself, Dat, we all write articles. We also have some guest writers as well. So make sure to check that out. Dat has done a fantastic job of building the website up and making it user-friendly. Also, make sure to sign up for the newsletter as well. We just shot one out today. We shoot one out every couple of weeks. So it just gives updates on everything on the website. And make sure to follow the Instagram as well. Julie has done a fantastic job with that. And basically, that's a little bit different than our Facebook group, a little bit different than the website, and just kind of a way to get involved. So check out the Instagram. And another announcement we have here, make sure to utilize our loan refi page. We just updated the rates, still have the lowest rates available with cash back through our partnerships with about 10 refi lenders. We have a pending relationship with the Laurel Road that should be done soon. They're taking quite a while to get through, but we will get that done for you and let you know when that comes out. And First Republic is planning to increase their cash bonus. Right now it's $300, but it should be more, and we'll give you details on that pretty soon. And next, make sure to check out the list of recommended mortgage lenders, disability, life insurance agents, and CPAs on the website. We're also going to be having a recommended CFP, and that'll be coming in the next month or so. We'll give an announcement for that as well. And finally, this one's more of a personal announcement for Vision Expo East. If you guys are going, I am giving 2 lectures on Sunday. The first one's called The Lean Machine, Systematic Approach to an Efficient and Cost-Effective Practice. That one's on Sunday, March 29th, and it's really early, 7:15 a.m. So if you guys can make it out, it'd be awesome to see some of you ODs on finance people. Second one is creating a long-term private practice success through real estate, and that's also on Sunday, and that one's at 9:45 a.m. And what I'm hoping is that after these 2 lectures, would love to, whoever's coming to the lectures afterwards, would love to buy you a beer or coffee, just have kind of a roundtable discussion about private practice, about finance, things that we talk about in the group. So if you're interested, just send me a message or just approach me at Vision Expo, and we can definitely work that out. And also Mick Kling, who was on the program a while back, Profit First guy, he's going to have about 5 lectures that weekend, including a Profit First lecture on Saturday. So make sure to check him out as well if you're going to Vision Expo. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump into the program. So today we have Dr. Gerber on with us, very well-known face in optometry. And I'm just going to read you his biography real quick for those who are unfamiliar with him. So Dr. Gerber is the founder and chief dream officer for the Power Practice, a practice building and consulting company whose mission is to help doctors power their professional and personal dreams. He is also the co-founder of Treehouse Eyes, the country's first company dedicated exclusively to providing expert myopia management services. Dr. Gerber is a prolific writer and speaker, as well as an accomplished mentalist and magician who often uses illusions to help illustrate his key learning points, as well as entertaining his audiences. He has authored hundreds of articles and given more than 500 thought-provoking and enlightening presentations. He is also the host of the Power Hour, optometry's only live talk radio show, and something that I listen to all the time. Great show. His team of consultant optometrists at the Power Practice is renowned for the innovative strategies and comprehensive systems used to build their clients' practices. Comprised of knowledgeable authorities from all sectors of the optometric business world, these consultants specialize in taking the middle of the bell curve practices and making them highly profitable and efficient. When he's not powering the dreams of his Power Practice clients or working to eradicate myopia, he's powering his own dreams as a touring musician with Joe and Turner, the singer for Deep Purple and Rainbow. So, Dr. Gerber, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. My pleasure. Hey, if you're buying beer at Expo, I'm in. You're gonna have
all right, sounds good.
10,000 OD show up to that one.
Yeah, I know. That's the goal, right? All right. So yeah, let's jump into myopia control for a little bit first. It's a hot topic in this day and age, and you're one of the experts. You've built a great company around it. So first thing, let's just go into the methods of myopia control. We have ortho K, CRT, probably the most common one that people think of when they think of myopia control, but there's other ways as well. We've got soft multifocal contact lenses, Cooper Vision just released MySight. Also, there's atropine therapy. We've got traditional ways such as bifocals, progressives, and even reduced single vision power lenses. So if you can just go through a little bit about each of these methods and pros and cons.
So I'm not a clinical myopia management expert. What I did when I launched the company, we put together an advisory board of experts who helped us put our clinical protocol together, which is one of the things that we license to the doctors that work with us. So my area of expertise is really the practice building profitability side of myopia. But with that, having been immersed in Treehouse Eyes, the company started 5 years ago. We opened our first center 3 years ago. I certainly learned a lot, like a real lot. And I got to say, I don't practice anymore. I don't see patients anymore. I haven't for a long time. But myopia it's not just a hot topic. It's not the next big thing. It's here now. Now's the time to jump in and get excited about myopia. And it's really within the ability of any mere mortal OD to be a myopia rock star. So with that, I feel comfortable talking about something clinical because I was like a solid C+ student at SUNY. So when it comes to clinical stuff, with myopia specifically, having sat in now probably hundreds of hours of lectures in the last 5 years, I think I can answer your question.
Yeah. Oh, and before you continue, actually, people
Go ahead.
can't hear you. They're telling you to turn your mic up a little bit. Yeah.
Oh, okay. My bad. Let's see if this helps at all. Raise it up a little bit. I guess I can just do this maybe the low budget way. Any better?
Sounds better on my end. How about you guys? There's about 3 that commented.
Okay. For those of you who can't hear me, can you hear me now? It's the Verizon commercial guy. Can you hear me now? How about the T-Mobile guy? How about the Sprint guy?
Yeah, one of those.
Is that better?
No one is commenting. It sounds better on my end. You're a little bit louder. So yeah, you continue. Yeah.
So I'm not a myopia clinical expert, but since you asked the question, not want to shy away from giving an answer. So let's talk about some of the things that don't work. We're pretty confident that conventional bifocal eyeglasses don't do much. There's some data that in some kids that have a big accommodative lag and esophoria, it might be some help, but the newest data is even in those kids, there's probably not much of a benefit. So as of today, I would probably take eyeglasses off the table because we can do so much better. That said, there's eyeglass lens designs down the way. Hoya's got MyoSmart with the DIMS technology. Essilor's got MyoPilux. Hoya's got MyoSight. I can't keep all the Myo names straight, but all the big companies will have an eyeglass lens or already have one. And yeah, there's other things that you spoke about. There's the optical mechanism, which could be an ortho-K design. CRT specifically, we don't use it. Only because the current off-the-shelf CRT, the OZ might be a little bit too small because most of the data is showing you want a smaller OD/treatment zone works a bit better. So we use our own proprietary design, which is essentially just a significantly smaller OZ. And that's pretty widely accepted nowadays. So off-the-shelf lenses, you got to be careful. MySight data looks good. We're super excited about it. In fact, I'm going to have Dan McBride, their top dog at Cooper's, going to come on the Power Hour. We're going to be talking about it soon. Yeah, a lot of cool stuff is on the way for treating these kids, and we got to get more doctors involved. I love waving the myopia flag because there's over 10 million kids that need to be treated, and 200 or 300 doctors in the U.S. is not enough to do it. So I'm glad we have a chance to talk about it. Hopefully can motivate some guys to do it. I get asked often, like, why would I advocate that others do this who may not be Treehouse Eyes doctors? And here's a stat I've thrown out many times. On the low side, there's 10 million myopic kids in the U.S. today. And as we know, the rate of increase is pretty significant. If we were to open up, we have 15 centers today. If we opened up 100 with the snap of my fingers, we got 100 centers. If each one of those saw 1,000 kids on the low side, we would be at a deficit. We couldn't treat those 100,000 kids we would treat. We would still be behind the curve because more kids are coming into the pipeline that we can treat. So we got to get doctors doing this. They got to do it the right way. That's kind of one of our biggest fears, is that doctors don't really do this the right way.
Yeah.
Hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, no, it does. And that kind of segues into our next question. How does a practitioner that doesn't have myopia control in their practice, how do they introduce it? How do they build a patient base? How do they get the right staff training?
Yeah.
All that goes into it.
It's a commitment. It's like anything else. You could ask the question, how do they bring in dry eye? Or how do they bring in scleral lenses or low vision or VT or pediatrics or whatever they want to do? You gotta make a conscious commitment to doing it. You gotta have the right technology. The biggest gap is I would tell doctors to approach it sequentially. First, they obviously need to get clinically educated, and they got to really understand the science. Like I said, it's not that hard, but there's a lot of it, and they
Mhm.
just have to commit to really learning it. It's not something you want to dabble in it. You're not going to do the kids justice. It'd be like, you talked about bifocal eyeglasses. That's the wrong thing for the kid.
Mhm.
So first thing is you got to get yourself educated. A lot of resources. We're working with Jobson on the myopia meeting. We're doing 4.0s, Vision by Designs coming up. GSLS just came up. They're kind of all over the place. So there's stuff out there. Go to local society meetings. Just make sure the content that you get is. And I'm not. This is an uncomfortable thing to say, but I got to say because I want to take care of
Mhm.
these myopic kids. Make sure the person giving you content knows what you're talking about. And if it's somebody
Yeah, it's
who's treated
important.
like six kids, um, I guess you can learn a little bit, but you want to really get it from experts, from legit experts, evidence based, because there's a lot of myopia treatment myths out there. So go to some top shelf meetings. We're biased obviously, but there's other speakers other than ours that are good. So make sure you go to the good ones. And then our practice building side, like I said, you have the right equipment. The biggest challenge that we see with the dabblers is they don't realize how time consuming it can be to do this. And that's usually scheduling. So we advocate to change your scheduling template to take longer than you think it's going to, so you're not under a gun. And a lot of the time commitment is from parents asking questions.
Mhm.
So that relates to your staff comment. How do you get your staff aligned? Just think of bringing in dry eye. Here's a challenge for the people who are listening that want to bring in myopia. Go up to your staff. Some of these people could have been. You could have an optician who's been in the business for 30 years. Go up to that person and say, "What is myopia?" And I will guarantee that they're going to say it's nearsightedness. It causes blurry distance vision. Now, if that's where your myopia staff education is, you got a lot of work because the parent response is, okay, if it's blurry distance vision, make it clear,
Right.
which is give me glasses. So it all comes back to axial length and the disease process and everything else. And optometry classically doesn't think of myopia that way. So you really need to educate your staff. Our onboarding, when we launched our company, we took people who literally didn't know their OD from their OS, from outside the industry,
Mhm.
and we trained them for 5 weeks straight before we let them loose on a patient. It's a lot. It's a big
Yeah.
financial commitment because you're working with somebody and paying them with, they're not generating revenue for it.
Right. Yeah.
But that's, we feel pretty strongly do it the right way. And like I said, I would say the same thing for dry eye scleral lenses or anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. And any tips or advice on current myopia control practitioners, how they can build their patient bases, how they can market and get out there?
Yeah, the guys that really have it easy, we did it the hard way. We opened up with no primary care. When we opened up our first two Treehouse Eye centers, we did myopia management only, no primary care, no adults, no insurance, just myopic kids. Period. If you came in, you were a hyperopic kid, we referred you out. If you were an adult who wanted ortho K for vision, we referred you out. So we did it the hard way. The way to market it, if you're just starting out, you probably have depending on what your practice is, you may have hundreds or in some cases thousands of myopic kids in your own database. So I would absolutely start there. If you are not, and you have to do it in this order. Don't do your marketing first to try and get these kids to show up. Get
Mm.
everything set up, get all your systems in place, get your fee templates. What are you going to do when somebody says, "What do you mean insurance doesn't pay for this?" Get everything figured out first. Do simulations on the telephone so you can answer parent questions. How come I never heard about this? My ophthalmologist said this doesn't work. My pediatrician never heard of it. Make sure you're prepared for all of that because if you market to the public at large, you're going to get those questions right away. And if you don't answer them properly, your marketing is a waste. So if you do all that first, that's a big if.
Mm.
First, social media can be great. Remember, you're marketing to the parents of the myopic kids, 35 to 45. So paid Facebook ads with the right message can be right, can be great. Google, AdWords, SEO, all that sort of stuff, because the target is really social media driven.
Mm.
And then the next thing, just like you're probably building your primary care practice, when that kid finally walks in, just be a rock star, do a great job. And then from there, it's reviews and word of mouth and everything else. But to get the first couple ones in, social media is great, provided you first have all your ducks in a row inside the office, or it's going to be a really bad spend.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah. And we've got quite a few cold start practitioners in our group, and also just an influx of students that just joined. So can you just give a kind of a bare bones, what do you need to start a myopia control practice? What's the equipment you need? And
Yeah.
yeah.
You need all the basics that you probably have now. The most basic is you need an autorefractor, and the reason you need that is for cycloplegic autorefractions, not for uh, you know, prescribing per se, but it's a good way. It's probably the most reliable way in a kid to track the refraction from visit to visit. So you cyclo a kid. Thing with cyclo ARs that we learned is you have to cycloplegic kid for real, not like put the drop in and then rush and you come back in 10 minutes. The kid has to be well done before you do it. Right? That's one. Most docs probably have that. The next is you have to have a great topographer. Should be a standalone, is
Mhm.
preferred than a combo. At a minimum, it should do axial maps that do differences. So the difference from this visit to next year's visit. That's at a minimum. The more data is better. We use Pentacam, AXLs, and Menmonts because we're
Okay.
phased.
Yeah.
So we want to get a great front of the cornea and a back of the cornea, but that's us.
Mhm.
We're doing some research and studies and some other stuff about some back of the cornea stuff. So you need a great topographer, and it's interesting at GSLS they had a session called current controversies in myopia management, which it should be called instead of control. It's a sidebar. The current controversies in myopia management, and they were talking about they have to measure axial length. And I saw the title. I went up to the organizer. I said, "What's the controversy? Of course, you have to measure axial length because what are you managing
Right.
if you don't measure axial length? Are you going to go to Weight Watchers and not have a scale?" Which is for my friend Barry Iden. So
Mhm.
yeah, you have to measure axial length, and using a scan doesn't count because it's not accurate enough. You can measure it like this or like this
That's
or
true.
like
Yeah. It
this.
depends on the axis. Yeah.
So it's got to be an optical biometer to do it the right way. If that, to me, those are the basics.
Okay. Great. And yeah, any tips or comments on making myopia management, like not control,
There you
more
go.
profitable?
So every time we hear a doctor say control, they have to kind of put a quarter in this and switch
I
it.
know, right? Yeah.
How to
It's like
make
the
more
swear jar.
Yeah, that's easy. You gotta charge for your time because it's
Mhm.
gonna take you a lot of time. Here's another challenge with regard to dabbling, where a lot of dabblers start and stop. And this is with my power practice hat on. A doctor will go to a lecture at the state association meeting about getting started with scleral lenses in your practice. For example, they go back. They're all jacked up to do it, and they get a couple cases under their belt, but it takes them longer than they thought, and they're kind of rushing. So while they're in the exam room with the patient that's waiting for them, they're in exam room one. The patient waiting in exam room two is a presbyope who now they had a 1 o'clock appointment. They don't get seen till 1:45. Because of that, they leave without buying glasses.
Mhm.
So at the end of the month, you do that 3 times. You have 3 scleral fits, and he lost three $1,200 high-end progressive lens sales.
Right.
Probably only made just a little bit of incremental money. So you say, you know what? It's not worth my time to do the sclerals. That's because you were dabbling. And if you charge enough, of course it's worth your time. Sit out for anything. It's worth your time just to do primary care with those subspecialties if you charge enough.
Yeah.
So knowing upfront that this is going to take more time before you start, that's the case. Make sure you set your fees. I know you guys apparently on your website do a lot of data analysis, things like that. You got to know your chair cost when you're doing this. You just have to figure out your chair cost. I would tell you based on our experience initially, if you're new to this, count on the first visit with the first kid taking 2 hours. So that means during those 2 hours, how many, from an opportunity cost, how many primary care patients will you not see during those 2 hours? And eventually, with time and expertise, you can get it down to maybe an hour and 15 minutes.
Right. Okay. And what are ways to make it more efficient? Going off of the 2 hour thing.
It's mostly practice. Think about when you graduated optometry school and refraction took you 3.5 hours, right? It's just you do more of it. You get a little bit more problem focused in your approach. Case presentation gets a little bit tighter, a little bit leaner without leaving out the essential elements. I think you just got to do more of it. There's no cutting corners. I mean, you really have a responsibility to the kid and to the parent. I mean, you have this with every patient. Obviously, you want to do a great job, but you're going to start seeing these kids younger and younger as you get better. You know, we've seen kids as old as 6 months. That's our youngest. Um, we have a 4-year-old kid in contact lenses. So you have like a really pretty profound professional obligation not to screw these kids up. I mean, you got to get it right. If you blow a presbyo reading prescription because you're plus a quarter or under a little bit, it's like nobody got hurt.
Right.
And they'll come back and they'll complain, and you fix it. Somebody just threw something up. They couldn't hear the best equipment for axial.
Yeah, two people were asking about axial length equipment.
Yeah. Best equipment is a optical biometer. We use the Pentacam AXL is our favorite.
Yeah, Pentacam AXL for those that just asked. Cool. And then
Pentacam, they just announced at GSL. I don't know the model. The AXL is the price of a really nice BMW. They have a new one. They have a new Pentacam that measures axial length. It's not the AXL. That's a lot less. They have a special deal with Wave contact lenses. So if you contact the Oculus guys, they can fill you in. I don't know the exact particulars, but it's pretty sweet deal.
Okay. And actually, stemming off of that, putting your power practice hat on for a little bit, if someone wants to get into this, what do you recommend? They just buy this equipment straight up? Should they lease?
Depends on the practice. Depends on where your financials are. That's a tough one to give a broad answer. One of the things that's different with myopia management is if you do it right, the margins can be pretty significant. So let's say you're going to buy a topographer. Let's say you're going to whatever it's going to be a topographer axial length. Let's say it costs $30,000. Um, that's not going to take you a lot of kids to get back. Like, and if you get your chops together, you could probably recoup that. That's my dog, by the way, if you didn't hear it. He's on a radio show.
For smelling, yeah.
You can recoup that probably in the order of 2 or 3 months. So if that's the case, I think you can make an argument not to finance it. You can get it paid back pretty quickly. Another thing that you can do is if you're not doing myopia management now, let's give you an easier example. Let's say you're not doing it now and you don't have a topographer. The first thing you have to do is get educated. So while you're doing that, you're going to classes, and you're pretty confident you'll have your education chops in line. Let's just say by it's February, by August, in 6 months, you'll be ready to do something. Okay, so what if starting in May, June, July, August, you got 4 months, you start talking to moms and you tell them that in August, I'm going to be offering a new service. And you tell them about myopia management. And again, your staff is already dialed in. You know what your fees are going to be like. All that stuff is done. Then what you do is you buy the device, and most manufacturers will give you a little bit of a trial, like to let you play with it for 30 days. You could effectively, if you have these people in the queue in 4 months, you could have, let's again make the numbers easy. It's $15,000. Let's say you're charging $3,000 for a case. Let's say you can net $3,000 for a case. You have 10 cases lined up. You call them up. 5 of them will drop out. So you could pay cash for your topographer in one day by doing the 5 cases. just
true.
by
Yeah, the money
creating
math. Yeah,
a demand before you buy the technology. And just because the margins are so high, if you set it up properly, if you put the time in up front instead of
right.
just buying a topographer and saying, what should I charge? I guess I'll go take a myopia class.
Yeah, yeah. And I actually just got a message, got a question here involving marketing. So we talked a little bit about targeted social media and
Mhm.
internet marketing. How about visiting schools? Doing school screenings, different things like that. Is that a good way to market myopia
The way
management?
it works the best is get a patient who's at the school first. There's a couple challenges with any school screening. First of all,
Hmm.
go into a school screening thinking that the prospective patient does not have a relationship with an eye doctor already. It's usually wrong for a kid. So what you're trying to do is not establish a new relationship. You're trying to break an existing relationship with their current doctor. Now, I'm not saying that's good or bad ethically, whatever, but
Right. Yeah.
it's harder to do than if they don't have a doctor. Most of them do. So school screenings typically may not work that well um, unless you go in there and you have a parent who can advocate for you, a parent of a kid or that's already working with you. And then a better thing that works in schools instead of screening is speaking at the school. So trying to get a speaking event from a PTO or some other type of parents organization.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah,
and
that
then
makes sense.
to do that, you just got to make sure that again everything is sequentially is ready to go. Because if you speak on a Tuesday night and somebody comes up to you and says, "Okay, I want to bring my kid in tomorrow. I'm off from work," you better be ready to go.
Yeah.
So make again get we call it setup before launch, and the hardest part of myopia management part is not to doing the myopia; it's getting set up in advance, planning so you will succeed.
Makes sense. And got one question here. What's Treehouse Eyes Instagram? Do you guys have an Instagram?
Yeah, we do. You figure I would know, right? I'll look it up while we're on the phone. I guess
Okay.
I'd never go. I'm an old guy. I don't go on Instagram, but yes, I know we have one. The why we're here.
And while you're looking for that, that brings us to our last question about myopia management. Can you just tell us a little bit about Treehouse Eyes, the way that you set that up, and how that all works?
Sure. It's Treehouse_eyes. I think. I guess you can try that and see what
All
happens.
right, tomorrow's Treehouse_eyes.
Yeah, the way we set it up is you mean the kind of if somebody wants to work with us at
Yeah,
Treehouse?
if someone wants to work with you, your overall business model, and yeah.
Yeah, so what we have two company-owned centers in Washington D.C. where we kind of try stuff out. That's like the that and we opened those a little over 3 years ago. That was like the test lab, the concept, because nobody was crazy enough to just do myopia by itself before us. So we figured before to bring this to somebody else, let's see if it's a viable business. So we did. We figured it out. We made all the mistakes, so we'll never do that again. And by the way, marketing and the wrong messaging was one of the big ones. Right, so we
Yeah.
spent a ton on marketing that didn't work. So we will never do that again. We did public relations that worked really well,
Hmm.
but we did it too early. So we have the time sequence down. So now what we do is we take everything that we've learned. Think of the two DC centers like two big giant Starbucks company owned stores.
Hmm.
And then think about you're right. You said you're up in the Bay Area, so think about there's a Starbucks in your town that's 3,000 square feet.
Right.
You go to the Starbucks in San Francisco Airport, that one is about 150 square feet.
Hmm.
So we have a really cool, unique look and feel to our centers, um, and we're able to shrink that down and get it to fit inside a doctor's exam room. So we actually put a Treehouse Eye Center inside your office.
Okay.
And then we license everything that we learn, our proprietary clinical protocol, when to use atropine, when to use a custom RGP lens, along with all the marketing that we've tested. We put it through the meat grinder. We know it works. And the big thing is to set up all the 9,000 steps that you need to do, the documentation, the informed consent. What if a
Hmm.
kid doesn't move forward, the declining treatment documentation? Because what if the kid doesn't move forward and in 8 years their retina falls off?
Hmm.
Right? So you better have something that says, "Hey, mom, I told you," and you said, "No, it's not my fault."
Right.
Um, yeah, there's a lot of steps. So we license all that along with the training. In fact, this Saturday we'll be onboarding the next 5 locations in our DC center. They're going through their brand immersion training, show them how to use the brand and all that sort of stuff. So it's pretty intense way that we do it, and then we charge a monthly licensing fee.
Okay. Yeah.
If anybody's interested, the email is grow, at treehouseeyes.com, and I can send them all the stuff.
Great. And how big is Treehouse Eyes now?
As of this discussion, 15 locations. We'll have 30 by the end of this year, and probably in 2 or 3 years up to about 100 to rate that we're going. Then we'll start going outside the U.S. because that's really the holy grail of myopia is China.
Yeah.
So we're going from here to Canada to China is the plan.
Cool. All right. And to everyone listening, any other questions on myopia management for Dr. Gerber? If not, we'll shift gears a little bit, just talk about general private practice.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no more questions. If some pop up, we can still answer them. So if you show up a little bit late, feel free to ask.
Sure.
All right. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about general private practice, practice ownership. So through your experience with consulting, what are the biggest issues you think that private practice owners are currently facing?
Yeah, the biggest issues, if you think of there's external forces that are chipping away at optometry, public contact lenses, online refractions by whoever finally figures it out and it works and it's probably not that far away. That's all external stuff. The reason ODs are under indexed and not making more money is not the external stuff. It's what's going on inside their office. There's so much opportunity out there. Look at it this way: half of the population needs some type of vision correction. The former CEO of Toys R Us, before the company ran into the ground, he was the guy that put the Ferris wheel in Times Square, changed it from a Home Depot look to a cool looking retail store. It's like 4 CEOs ago. When I was living in Jersey, he was my next door neighbor, and I remember going out to dinner with him one time. And I just learned how to help ODs mostly by listening to how other businesses do it. So I said to him, you're in a pretty tough business. You got Walmart selling toys, Amazon selling toys. How do you guys make any money? Because you told me your margin's like 2 and 3%. It's like the grocery business. So he told me some of his merchandising things, branding and things like that. And then he said to me, how do you guys do it? I explained to him, well, here's the numbers in our world. We can buy a frame for $100. We can sell it for $200. If it doesn't sell, we send it back to the manufacturer and we get a credit. And he said, wait, say that part again. He said, you buy it and you can send it back. And he goes, we have to buy toys 6 months in advance and we own them. Buy them and we own them.
Yeah.
So we better know what's going to sell. And then he said to me, there's 300 million people in the United States. How many need some type of vision correction? I said, half. And he said, how many doctors are there, including ophthalmologists? I said, probably about 50,000 at the time. So he took out the back of a napkin and he started scribbling some notes. And he said, okay, so there's 150 million people need vision correction. You guys have, on frames alone, let's not even talk about the professional fees, you have this crazy markup and you can send stuff back. So he goes, and there's only 50,000 of you guys. And I said, well, it's actually less because that 50,000, we probably work in 30,000 locations, like 30,000 doors, probably even less. So he said to me, so the average optometrist makes how much, like $150 million? And I said, well, not exactly. And he said, how come? And if you think of it that way, he's right, because we're so under indexed. The opportunity is so big.
Yeah.
We're not even close
That's so true.
to doing what we should be doing. We're not in a recession-proof business by any means, but I think we're recession-resistant and we're economic swing resistant. So you see what's going on with the coronavirus and airlines and everything else, and the market's up and the market's down and all. I don't know how it finished today. I think it closed up. But I would guess most ODs, since the coronavirus has started, have not seen a significant dip in their business. Right? So it's not external stuff, and the fact that Hubble wants to take your contact lens business from you, or Visibly, or it wants to, if they're still in business, wants to do online refraction, like whatever, that's fine. The problem's inside the practice. So the issue is, and the issue, honestly, it's up here. We just think too small.
Yeah.
doctors come into practice and say, I want to make $1 million in my practice. That's my goal. And we tell our clients, you kind of get $1 million for showing up. I
Yeah.
mean,
Hey,
it's
Meyer.
like it's like making $3 and $4 million. You got to really start thinking about it. But it's
Hmm.
it's really not that hard to
Hmm.
make money, and to make a lot of money is harder.
Right.
But if you think it through and you plan, and you can take everything I said about myopia management and just expand it to your whole practice by getting things in place and going sequentially. So most ODs, I talked about myopia management, get a good clinical education first. So we kind of have that with primary care. We graduate school, we're pretty smart.
Hmm.
Um, the thing we never really did was plan to succeed in business. We didn't. I mean, even those words, most of us didn't have a business plan.
Oh yeah.
Our business plan is I'll open up and I'll figure out and I'll kind of see what happens. And because it's relatively easy to make money, most of us do okay
Hmm.
without a business plan. Um, that I think I would type. You have a lot of younger docs on your site or listening or watching. Is that we tend to be pretty. We tend to go into our own practice undercapitalized. We just don't borrow enough money. Now, I understand, yeah, Gary, easier for you to say in graduate school, $250,000 in debt. I understand that. The challenge is if you go to open up and you don't have enough money, you'll probably still do okay, but you're just going to do okay. So I actually advocate borrowing more than you think is necessary, because most of these loans, business loans, you can pay back early if you need to. You can get some of it as working capital, so you have a cushion.
Hmm.
Yeah, but the biggest, getting back to your discussion, I could talk about this all night. I've been doing it for 30 years. Um, the biggest issue to practice growth is really it's the the practice owner. You have to take calculated risks. We're a very risk averse profession.
Hmm.
I'm not saying take crazy risks. I'm saying calculated risks. There's a big difference. Understand market dynamics, and don't be afraid to like experiment and try something. One of the benefits of being a small business person is that you get to be wrong. You get to say, I'm gonna raise my fee on AR lenses because I want to make more money. So I'm charging $100 today. I'm gonna raise to 150 tomorrow. And what if you were selling? What if 30% of patients were buying them, and tomorrow you raise to 150? You do it for 2 weeks, and 0% buy them. I guess that was a bad idea.
Yeah.
So lower it.
Warn and adjust. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, but what if you raise it and you're still at 30%? What if it goes up because now your value proposition is higher, because a $150 lens must be more valuable than a $100 lens?
Hmm.
So that's the other thing. Just kind of general, we're afraid of charging appropriate, like myopia, because we believe the more we charge, the fewer patients we'll see. That's one of the
Right.
biggest fallacies in any business, really, because if that's the case, for those listening, if you want to see more patients and you're afraid to raise your fees, that'll scare patients, then lower your fees and see more patients. So the two things don't always work that way. It's the value equation, value proposition that you have to take a look at.
Yeah. I agree. And I think we got two questions. Do you see them on the sidebar there?
Um, let's see, Instagram. Okay. Is Euclid a good design? Yeah, Euclid's great. We use a ton of Euclid lenses. Great company to work with. Highly recommend them. Um, how often are you cycling IOP patient? Does it depend? Okay, so we cycle the kids um, at least every year when they come back, and we try to see the kid every 6 months. That's the ideal scenario. And at that visit, we want to do serial axial length and serial cyclo ARs, but at a minimum once a year. And does it depend? No, it doesn't depend on treatment modality. That's really interesting that somebody asked, because that gets back to the whole like prescription vision piece of myopia. The reason it doesn't care about the modality, because our goal is to inhibit axial elongation. Um, so it's really, you want to take the treatment modality out of it. And a lot of people say, well, I'm using atropine, it's going to screw up the kid's accommodation. If you use diluted atropine, yeah, they lose a little bit of accommodation, they get a little bit of mydriasis. We tend to start with 0.025 as our lead. Point oh one doesn't work. So if you're using that, you got to stop. Um, so the accommodative part of it is unrelated to the inhibition of axial elongation, which is, I'm curious if that person asked the question, does cycloing depend on the treatment modality? No, it doesn't. You got to cycle everybody.
Okay. Great. And yeah, let's go on to our next question here on the outline. What are the biggest problems practice owners are facing regarding cash flow right now, and what are some solutions?
Yeah, cash flow. So, there's only two things you can do. You can make more money or spend less, right?
Yeah.
I like to simplify things. That's
Yeah.
the price answer.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. Yeah.
Yeah. So the spending less, you got to be careful on what you spend less on. You got to spend smart, I think is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of gets back to taking, I sound like a politician talking on both sides of my mouth, but I on one hand, I'm saying spend less, and then I'm saying take out a bigger loan, which means bigger loan payment, right? So it's a question of what do you do with the money?
Right.
And I think to increase cash flow to make more money, you got to, one of the easiest things, you can fix almost every problem in your practice by raising your fees. There's almost no problem you can't fix. It's kind of like, depending on your political persuasion, you can throw money at the problem
Mm-hmm.
and think that'll fix the problem. Well, throw a higher fee, collect a higher fee for the same everything, same service, same overhead, same staff, same insurance, same rent. Collect the higher fee, and bam, your cash flow just goes up. So we tend not to charge enough is the big thing. Now, if you're saying, well, I could charge a patient $186,000 for an eye exam, I'm only going to get paid $11 by the managed vision care plan. Okay, in that case, you're right, but there's a lot of things that you can't control. And those things need to be looked at line item by line item by line item, and you need to keep raising until they stop buying.
Mm-hmm.
So it gets back to that example with AR. Look at your best-selling frames. So ask your if you don't know which are your best sellers, let's say you have 100 frames in your office, the 80-20 rule always applies. 20% of your best sellers. Take the 20% of the 20%. Take your 4% of your best selling frames. Go in tomorrow and raise the price on those frames, just on those frames,
Mm-hmm.
and keep raising the price until it's no longer your best selling frame, and then lower back just a little bit. That'll make you more money right away.
Right.
Your best selling, your go-to contact lens, raise it by $3 a box. The patients shop online for contact lenses. Yeah, the same patients are going to shop, and the same patients are going to buy.
Mm-hmm.
So there's usually some wiggle room, lens add-ons, AR transitions, Polaroid, all that sort of stuff. The stuff you have control of, you got to raise your fees.
Yeah. Great. I'm glad you mentioned the 80-20 rule. I've put that in our book on our practice management section.
Yeah,
So
it's hard to find something where it doesn't apply.
Yeah. It just the
Pareto's
Pareto principle.
man,
It works.
Yeah, he's a pretty smart guy.
All right. I think we got another question on the sidebar. Pearls for cold start and not taking vision plans.
Oh yeah, great question. Yeah, so like I said, we can use the Treehouse Eyes model as an example. We Cold Start. Cold Start, who was only able to appeal to 13% of the population, because in DC 13% of kids are myopic. So have a really, really tight business plan. Get yourself a lot of help. There's a lot of good content out there. I haven't spent a lot of time on your site, but the little bit that I saw looks good. So props to you guys for doing this. We need things like this. We need you guys pushing this kind of content out there. So go into your cold start with a really firm business plan, and then put yourself in the prospective patients in the prospective patient who has a vision care plan. Put yourself in their shoes and say, what would it take for me to go to an office that doesn't accept my insurance? And you have to check off all those boxes. And there are practices in the country that survive and do really well without vision care plans. And we have several of those as clients, and it's because they really have a very strategic way to do it. So they focus on the things that if somebody's going to pay out of pocket, you better take really great care of it. You better provide a concierge-like experience. If I have a 1 o'clock appointment, you better see me at 1 o'clock. And if you're going to charge me, here's let me explain it this way. This is a better way to do it instead of going through frames and lenses. If a patient has a vision care plan, let's say they're out of pocket with everything, with copays and all the stuff they're going to get dinged that's not covered. Let's say it's $50. And let's say if they would have bought that from your office, it was $400 for the exam, for the services, and any products that they got. So you have to make a compelling argument. Why are you $350 better? It's no different than if there were no vision care plans and somebody charges $50 and you charge $350. Why are you $350 better? What's going to make somebody come to you? So look at it more globally that way. It usually comes down to selling products that are unique and very tailored for the individual. Make sure they really are. You can't just say you got to do it. Providing a customer experience. I'm saying customer from the perspective of when the retail business. Making sure the customer experience is so far above and beyond what they could get elsewhere, they can't help but tell their friends. When I was in practice, we would do things like when somebody came into the office. Most people listening have a little Keurig machine for coffee or Mr. Coffee or something that's in the corner. And if the patient wants a cup of coffee, they help themselves and they get some coffee. That's kind of cool. But that's not really unique because a lot of practices do that.
Right.
So we did because we didn't take any vision care plans and we charged a lot of money. After somebody, when somebody walked in, our office concierge would go up to him and say, "Would you like a cup of coffee?" So that was the first thing. We asked them if they wanted it instead of help yourselves. Because a lot of people say, "Would you like it? Go get it." Okay. If they said, "Yeah, I want some coffee," we would ask, "How do you like it?" And they said, "I like it black with sugar." We would go prepare their coffee. We'd bring it to them, but we didn't stop there. We gave them their coffee. We said, "The doctor will be with you in just a moment. We'll get you started, technician, whatever they're coming in for." We'd go into our practice management software, and we would make a note that that person likes their coffee black with sugar. So when they came back for their contact lens checkup next week, we didn't have to ask. We just gave it to them. Now that's a customer experience that they would get at a place like a Ritz-Carlton,
right,
or Four Seasons Hotel. They're not going to get it when they take their kid to the pediatrician.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to walk in, the office is going to be a bunch of screaming kids. There's going to be snot all over the place, and it's not the experience they're used to. The good thing with that model is that the bar has been set pretty low by the rest of all medicine, not just optometry.
Right. Yeah.
And if you go that route, you're going to start, which is great. You start to get compared to other businesses. Like we used to get reviews back that said, I wish every business worked like this, not just every doctor worked like this. We did stuff with music. We bring, because I'm in my bio, I'm a musician. I always had music playing in the office. We would bring patients into the exam room. We have 3 exam rooms. One doctor worked out of 3 rooms usually. Bring them into the exam room. Say something like, "Gerber's going to be in here in 5 minutes. Would you like to listen to some music?" If they said yes, we'd say, "What kind of music?" They say, "I like classical music." Do you like, what kind of music do you like? "I like Beethoven, like early Beethoven or late Beethoven." We'd get really drilled down.
Mm-hmm.
We'd go on Pandora, Spotify, pick one. We'd put on some late Beethoven. That went into their notes also. So when they got escorted next week into the exam room, late Beethoven was playing. Now that's stuff that's free. You have an internet connection. You probably have speakers that you don't use in your exam room.
Yeah.
That's stuff that's free
Mm-hmm.
that you can just blow people away with. Is that worth an extra $350 in my example? Probably not.
Mm-hmm.
Right? A cup of coffee and music is not worth $350 to most people. But put that together with everything else in the office where it's clean, it runs on time, you remember their name, the staff is totally top notch, you stole them from a high-end retail jewelry store. They know how to interact. Your optician used to work in a Lexus dealership. You start having that type of experience, and then what's great about this, it doesn't matter if you practice in where you are in the Bay Area or you practice in rural America, people still want to be treated like royalty.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, personal side note, when I bought my practice in 2016, I listened to the Power Hour just continuously to get as much as I could. And you talked about the personal concierge, and that's something we adopted.
Yeah.
And it has worked wonders. Yeah. A lot of patients,
Thanks.
a lot of word of mouth is.
Thanks for listening, and thanks for doing it. So you talk about OD challenges. What you asked me a couple questions ago.
Mm.
Hopefully, the people that listen to this will do it. It's stuff that they can do that's free, that's fast, it's easy. They got to tell their staff, they got an office meeting, got to execute. The execution is always the challenge. That's the essence of my consulting company, is execution. But once they do it, how is this not going to have some positive impact on your practice? Like things like this. We got a laundry list of 100 of these things.
Right.
And it's not necessarily VIPMD concierge model, but it's that degree of service that the goal is when you have your current patient tell their friend that I went to Aaron's practice, you don't want them to talk about like, wow, your glasses are really nice.
Mm-hmm.
You want them to say, my glasses are really nice, but let me tell you about this practice. The coffee, the music, the this, that. It's unbelievable what these guys do there. That's the message that you want, because that'll really separate you from the pack.
Yeah, definitely. Got another question here. How do you woo browsers?
Is it like web browsers?
Candy, is
that like
is that what you meant? Let's see if she responds. I think there might be we'll wait for her to respond. I think there might be a spelling error in that.
Could be showrooming. I don't know which.
Yeah. Oh, woo, maybe. Yeah, not browsers as the internet. Maybe browsers and opticals.
Yeah. If somebody's showrooming, kill them with kindness, man. Ask them how they can help. One of the great things you can do.
Shoppers. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So one of the great things you can do is just ask them, are you shopping? Like, and not to be like, hey, are you shopping or what? Are you shopping? Because I want to make sure you get the absolute best pair of glasses at the best possible price that fits you absolutely perfectly. And look at it from that perspective. Think about when you went into Best Buy, because they're usually pretty good with showrooming. Because everybody goes in there as a computer nerd, so they're going to look on Amazon for the exact same thing. Mm-hmm. And they still go out of their way to help you and answer questions. I was looking for some Sony earbud things, not the Apple ones, the other Bluetooth wireless ones. Mm-hmm. And I went in there and I tried on the Apple ones. They didn't. I was kind of underwhelmed, which is why I'm still using this kind of archaic wire. And like the Bluetooth ones just weren't working for me. What do you guys recommend? So he said, well, these Sonys got rated really well. And the guy like super educated me. And then I just asked him, are you guys price competitive? Like if I go on Amazon, would I find it for less? So the answer was, yeah, of course you'll find it for less on Amazon. So I was prepared to buy it from him because that's just me. I felt bad. He did his job properly, so I think he should be rewarded. Right. But that's me. Right. So at that point, I just said to him, look, if I can buy it for less, why should I buy it from you? And he gave me like a list. He was pretty well trained. He gave me a list of reasons how he's going to stand behind it. One of the things that was pretty cool, he listened when I spoke to him. He said, look, you told me you're a professional musician. You're very sensitive about the sound and the quality of the sound. And if you try these up to 30 days, if you don't like them, bring them back. And we'll just give you a refund on the spot. Like no questions asked. That was pretty powerful. Mm-hmm. So Amazon, you can send stuff back also. But I was there. He made it so easy. He eliminated as many obstacles as he possibly could. Now, for the person who asked about the browser, shoppers, and looky-loos, if that's all the same person, you have a good vocabulary.
I think it is, yeah.
Some good adjectives there. What I'm saying is not going to work on everybody, but the approach is viable to enough people that's worth doing, where you'll capture enough that it's worth your effort.
Makes sense. I got one more question for you. I didn't put it on the outline before we wrap things up here. And so our very first live event was, it involved basically a few practice owners all around the U.S., myself included, and a few other ones, both in sublease and private practice areas that were netting $300K and above. and it got a lot of questions. It got a lot of interest from our group. And I think you commented on it as well, that you had quite a few involved with your consulting business that net over 300. What would be just a few characteristics that define these practices? What do you notice? What are some universal trends that you see?
Some of the stuff I spoke about. I mean, look, netting over 300 grand that's pre-tax, right?
Yeah, pre-tax.
All right. So
Or you can do post-tax, whatever. Yeah, whatever. Just a high net. Yeah.
Okay. So what these practices have in common, it's kind of like I said before. So like netting 300 means, depending on where you are in the country, so you're grossing like 1.2, 1.3, something like that, depending on where you are. Okay. And those are practices that went into this saying, look, and I'm not with this next comment, I'm not saying money is everything. It's not. You got to be happy, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's kind of words. That's the reason we're hopefully why we're all here.
That's why we do it. Yeah.
But if you're money driven, and this is ODs on finance, I'm reading it right on my screen. Okay, so if you're listening to this, you're probably somewhat profit driven. Um, you got to set the bar higher, and you got to visualize what does my dream practice, my dream net look like? If it's 300 grand, you just created a self-fulfilling prophecy, and you will get there, and you'll probably get there in, I don't know, most of our guys have got there 5 or 6 years probably. We don't really track stuff like that, but if you say, you know what I want to do, I want to net $1 million, and I want to not work, like that's my dream. If you said that, okay, that's a totally different vision and plan and business plan and coaching program and inventory and space planning than $300,000. So think big, dream big, not like pipe dream, but it is like there are practices. There are single owner practice. I spoke to one today. There are single owner practices in the U.S. that the doctor is putting $1 million into their pocket, and the practice is doing maybe $5.5 or $6 million. In fact, today was I actually spoke to two of them today. That's unusual. So not that many of those out there, but so and they went into this with a really firm plan and a really firm goal of I want to be the biggest doctor with the highest gross in this community. Like was one of them, and it's a lot of hard work to do. And again, I'm not saying drive yourself to insanity because you're so money driven that you're not happy, but if you're motivated, set the bar higher. So what they have in common is, which was your question, they think big, they take calculated risks, um, self-serving plug, they're clients of ours. And but that said, so take us out of it. We obviously think we're the best consulting group out there, but you asked, so I have to put that in there. But others that I've met that don't work with us work with somebody who really gets the game. They really understand it. There are a lot of kind of Dr. Evil finger quotes consultants out there.
Yeah.
So get yourself an advisor, seek advice, work with groups like this. Ask the right types of questions. Um, Kind of hang out with the eagles, and you soar with the eagles instead of hanging with the turkeys. So stick around like-minded, big producing ODs. The other thing that's kind of cool is that the big producing ODs like they like teaching others how they did it, not because they want to show off. They like imparting wisdom. Like one of the things I love about consulting, I love it's kind of like when you get a patient that comes in and says, Aaron, you're the sixth doctor that I'm going to, and nobody can get these glasses right. They just can't nail it. So you do a really careful exam, evaluation, history, and somebody just like wasn't listening to the patient, and you figure it out. You make them a pair of glasses. That's like super gratifying, without like a ton of work, because you didn't try to be a hero and move the cylinder 20 degrees. You moved it 5 degrees, and they think you're a hero. Right? Every doctor listening to this has had one of those experiences, and it's really emotionally gratifying. And the patient says to you, best doctor ever, was sending all my friends. When we get a practice that we help, it's gratifying for us to help them get to that personal realization that they hit that vision. We just love doing it. That's why my title is, people tease me, the chief dream officer. Really, like that's it. Yeah, because we want doctors to achieve their dreams, and they're going to do it by dreaming big and dreaming bigger, and then they got to execute. I said one of the essences of good consulting is showing doctors how to get the job done. The content and of how to do it. If you said to me, talk about selling two pairs of glasses, like what's the secret? There are no secrets. It's all been written about. There's a million package pricing. It's buy one get one free. There's 100 different ways to do it. It's executing to get it done. So it's like coming back from that meeting again. Like I said, you're all jacked up. How to actually do it and how to get it to stick. So the execution is the hard part. So a good consultant and what we see in these high grossing and these high netting practices is that they're really good at execution, and they focus on the execution to almost to the exclusion of the strategy, because the strategies are out there. It's how do I get it done? So somebody's listening and they say, okay, I want to go back and I want to sell more glasses tomorrow. How are you going to do it? And how are you going to get it to stick? That's the challenge as an entrepreneur. And with the high netting practices they put an inordinate lever on the execution and less on the strategy. And they get people that can help them become better executors.
Well said. Well said. And let's go ahead and wrap things up. I know we're a little bit over an hour now. So if you want to just give a couple minute plug on all that you've got going on, I know the Power Hour, the Power Practice, Treehouse Eyes, all that.
Sure. Powerpractice.com is where you can find us. Information there. We offer free initial consultation. If you want to learn about myopia management side of things, bring it into your practice, grow, Grow, at Treehouse Eyes, EYES, all one word, treehouseeyes.com. Contact us there, either one of those. Anything else, if you want to follow the band, go to joelinturner.com. We'd love to see you at his show. You have to like 80s classic rock, though, or you're going to be really bored out of your mind and you're probably going to leave early. But so if you like the band Deep Purple and Rainbow, we'd love to see you at his show.
Yeah. Any tour dates in San Francisco coming up?
Nothing coming up. I'm going to Czechoslovakia soon.
Okay. That's pretty cool.
Quick ones. The Eastern European shows are great, man, because the audiences are just gigantic. So
Oh, nice.
Really cool.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on. I know you got a busy schedule. You got a lot going on. Do appreciate you coming on here. And
Same here. It was fun.
yeah. All right. And then we'll probably see you at Vision Expo.
I'll be there.
All right. Thanks again.
Take care.